Good morning, I'm Jason Smith and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Blueprints, where we explore all things new homes all across the Triad. Today we're in Winston-Salem at Mungo Homes in their design studio. We're just in a part of it, but it's an amazing facility, so you come check it out sometime if you're around. Today we're joined with Quinn of Mungo Homes. She is the Corporate Vice President of Public and Community Relations. She has quite a bio, so I'm going to sit here and introduce her so you can learn a little bit more about who we're talking to today. Kim joined Mungo Homes in 2004 as the Director of Marketing, managing efforts in Mungo's two markets at the time, Columbia and Charleston, South Carolina. Kim rose up the ranks to Corporate Vice President of Marketing, and in 2024 was appointed the role of Corporate Vice President of Community and Public Relations, representing Mungo Homes in 10 markets across the South. And we're going to get into some of that, how they've really grown over the last few years. As a native of South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, and a graduate of Converse College in Spartanburg, South Carolina, she has a BS in English. Kim discovered her love for advertising while interning at an ad agency during college. Her career started there, and she basically acquired the Mungo account at that time, and then 5 years later, you were hired by Mr. Mungo.
Right.
And the rest is history.
That's right.
All right. So there's a lot. She's a lot of experience here and a lot of background. So we're going to probably learn a lot of good stuff today. We're here today. We're going to talk about Mungo Homes and how they've come to the Triad, what their company vision is, and what their growth plan is, and just really learn a lot about who they are. So, Kim, the first question we have for you is, Mungo Homes is a regional builder, and you know, you started out in the Carolinas, South Carolina,
Correct.
And now you've gotten into Virginia, Georgia. What do you see as your growth pattern? I mean, why are you focusing on these states, or do you have other states that you're eyeing, or is this kind of your market?
Well, obviously we were sort of born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina, Irmo, South Carolina to be exact. And so if that's the hub, then it just makes sense that we would expand out from there. And so we were founded in 1954, and our first expansion was in 2003 outside of Columbia to Charleston. Mm-hmm. Then we went to Myrtle Beach, and then we acquired First American Builders in Raleigh in 2007, and have just kind of infiltrated out from Columbia, sort of being that hub.
So you started out in two markets. You're now in...
Well, we started out in one market
okay.
in 1954 and expanded to Charleston, South Carolina in 2003. That was our first expansion.
Right.
So,
okay.
And when we expand, I mean, currently our expansion plans are just to expand in our current markets because there's a lot of growth potential just right where we already are.
Yeah. So entering the Triad, you guys... I guess you acquired Shugart Enterprises.
We did.
Grover Shugart is a mainstay here in the Triad,
yes.
Especially Winston-Salem,
sure.
But all across the Triad.
Sure.
He's got a big footprint.
Yes.
He was an amazing human being.
He was.
Is, of course.
Yes.
And I've had the honor of working with him over
sure.
the years, and I know him very well. And what a great person. And how have you guys been able to capitalize on his great reputation and business that he built here in the Triad?
Okay, great question. The thing, when we acquired Shugart Homes back in 2019, the similarities between the two companies is what made that work. The quality product, the quality construction, the commitment to the buyers, and the commitment to the community. And a family business. And so when we started looking at Shugart Homes, it just really made sense to marry the two companies because our backgrounds and our philosophies and our missions were so aligned. Mm-hmm. And as far as capitalizing on that Shugart reputation, you know, when we entered this market, we were 64 years old. Mungo Homes was 64 years old, and so we had our own reputation. You don't get to be this old without building a quality product and without taking care of your customers. And so because of that alignment, we've just brought our own quality and our own attention to detail and our own customer experience here, which was also our background.
Yeah, and as a real estate agent and in the new homes business, the transition seems to be very seamless. You guys have kind of just fit right in like a glove.
Oh, you don't see behind closed doors.
Well, maybe not, but just outside looking in, it really has looked like a very seamless acquisition or merger, I guess is a
Yes.
better word.
No, acquisition is correct.
All right. Well, everything just from the outside consumers looking in seems very seamless, and it leads me into my next question. You guys, when you came to the market, you instantly had market share and great locations.
We did.
And that's real important in our business,
It
of
is.
course. It's everything.
Yes.
And so how are you continuing to get out there and get land spots? It's very challenging right now. Land is hard to come by.
It is.
And I know every time we turn around, we're all scratching and clawing to get pieces of property. So
We are.
what are you guys doing to make that move?
Well, to back up just a little bit, we did acquire some really great land positions when we purchased Shugart Homes. And some of those we are closing out. Some of those we are in the late stages and finally putting in the amenities. Some of those land positions that we acquired, like Haynes Lake in Winston-Salem, which is a big flagship community for us, we acquired that land, but we self-developed it. It's all Mungo product. And it's a Mungo neighborhood, even though we acquired the land when we acquired Shugart Homes. Mm-hmm. And as far as what we're doing is, it's been amazing because we've been able to kind of adopt those relationships that we acquired through the acquisition of Shugart Homes. And so we have great relationships with the developers, with the brokers, with real estate agents, and just like anybody else, we're always looking for land, and you have to have your ear on the ground looking for land. The great thing about Mungo Homes is we ourselves were acquired by Clayton Properties Group in 2018, and it gave us a financial position that we hadn't had before. And so we really are able to compete with big national companies as far as bidding on land positions and that sort of thing. And we have a great land team here in the Triad. We have land acquisition folks right here in the Triad, and they are out beating the bushes for land all the time.
So how do you see the Triad stacking up against other markets? As you're in multiple markets, our business and population and growth is really changing. And so how do we stack up against other markets in your view?
Okay. Within the Mungo footprint, the Triad is no different than the rest of the markets. We are all growing. There's industry coming into all markets. The great thing about the South is people want to live here. Cost of living is cheaper. You can play golf year-round in most of our markets, which is great. What's great about the Triad is the interstate system. You've got 77, you've got 40, you've got 85, all converging. And that's one of the things that's great for growth here in the Triad. And so we are looking for really tremendous growth here in the Triad, and we are on the cusp or have just acquired some really great land positions for let's flagship communities right here in the Triad.
Nice, nice. Well, that brings me to my next question. Nowadays, let's go back 10 years. We used to see a lot of neighborhoods with amenities.
Right.
Okay, and clubhouses, pools, tennis, walking trails. Now, in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, most of the developments seem to be, not all, but most seem to be non-amenitized.
Okay.
So how do you, when you're doing neighborhoods and you have a community that is not amenitized,
Okay.
what do you try to do to make it a little different or to make it more appealing to a consumer?
Well, and the thing about amenities in a neighborhood, it all depends on the number of home sites.
Of course.
Because you can't have a large resort-style amenity when there aren't a lot of home sites, because the cost of those amenities and your monthly fees or quarterly HOA fees have got to pay for the pool or the upkeep of the dog park or that sort of thing. And so really when amenities go in, it's dependent on the number of home sites. So with the land that you're specifically talking about, the communities or the neighborhoods that don't have amenities, they're smaller neighborhoods, and we really emphasize the fact that when you're in a smaller neighborhood, it's really a boutique neighborhood. You really get to know your neighbors. We have sidewalks in every one of our neighborhoods, and so people are out pushing strollers, walking their dogs. We typically put park benches in, and we do try to put in green space or walking trails or a little pocket park or something where people can gather. And so really the benefit or the attraction to living in a small neighborhood is where you do have lower HOA fees, but you get to know your neighbors really quickly because you're in a small neighborhood and it's very community oriented.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about was we went to the Builders Show in February.
Your feet still hurt?
Very much. We won't talk about all that, but there's a lot of walking. But we enjoy going every year.
Yes.
And I love seeing all the new things and what's going on. What do you guys do? Do you go to stuff like that? Do you? I mean, I know you have a design team
right.
in probably all your markets.
We do.
Do they attend and help get new ideas and bring back to your buyers?
We absolutely do. We have a contingent that goes to International Builders Show every year, and we listen to our buyers when they come to the design center. They might say, gosh, I saw something in XYZ magazine, and we'll make a note of that. And if we hear that suggestion over and over again, we might go, we might need to take a look at that. A number of years ago, freestanding tubs came back into vogue, and we kept hearing, gosh, we love this bathroom, but we really would love a freestanding tub. Well, after we heard it a few times, we started doing the research, and yes, people wanted freestanding tubs, and so we started offering freestanding tubs in our higher end products. But so we listen to what our buyers are asking for. Our manufacturers are great about saying, hey, look at this cool new lighting. And so we will introduce new lighting. The fun thing about our design centers is we'll say, okay, the design center is finished. Well, the design center is never finished.
Right, it's constantly
being redone because you've got new light fixtures, or Master Brand may discontinue a cabinet color, so we've got to put in new cabinet samples, that sort of thing. Social media is great. We all over social media. You look at Instagram, what people are sending out or pinning, or gosh, y'all look at this cool new kitchen, and we'll look at that as well. We also do focus groups. We did a focus group in Raleigh probably a year ago. We are building in Raleigh our first active adult 55 plus community in Raleigh. Actually in Durham, it's called Ovation, and we did focus groups to find out what do people in my demographic really want in an active adult community. Do they really want pools? Is it okay if the kids from the other neighborhoods come and swim in the pools? What is it that folks want? And so we also do focus groups to see what people want.
Right.
So it's not any one thing to answer your question. It's a whole conglomeration of opinions out there.
Yeah, and everybody's got
one.
So in your market, your buyer profile, I know you guys span a wide range in pricing.
We absolutely do.
With first-time home buyers, or any buyer, but really first-time home buyers, what are you seeing on the financing side? How are you with interest rates? Kind of, they're not too bad right now, but they were, and so with things settling down, what do you see on what kind of programs and things do you offer to help those buyers get in?
Well, I'm not a lender, so I can talk in very general terms. It's interesting you mentioned about that first-time home buyer. Throw a little statistic at you. In the 70s, the average age of the first-time home buyer was in the upper 20s. And in 2004, the average age of the first-time home buyer was 38. And what we've seen is that this Gen Z, millennial, those generations, what they're doing is they're waiting to buy homes because they want to go ahead and get in the second home the first time. They don't want to get in that first-time home. I hate the term starter home when we really don't use that, but they're not going into a home that they think they're only going to be in for a couple of years and then upgrade or buy a bigger home. They're waiting to buy that second home the first time, if that makes sense. Yeah. We partner with Silverton Mortgage. They are our lender partner, and they have a number of loan programs for buyers of any type, whether you're a teacher or you're military, whatever. So that really helps with the first-time home buyer. They offer closing cost assistance, and so those are the kinds of things that we're doing to help with people get in their new home. I'll tell you what else we're seeing is that resurgence of parents or grandparents helping their kids with the down payment, because that's what's so difficult right now. It's coming up with that down payment. And so we really are seeing a resurgence of help from parents getting that gift for the down payment.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that all over the market. How has so as we interview different builders across Triad, one of the things I always like to touch base on is the new real estate laws, or they're not new, but the laws have changed.
Right.
How have y'all been impacted by any of that, or I mean, is it business as usual?
That was exactly what I was going to say. It's absolutely business as usual.
Okay.
We offer competitive commissions, and we have not done anything different. We have never offered incentives or discounts to a buyer if they come in with representation. We love our realtor communities. We count on them to bring us buyers, and so really the new real estate laws have not affected us at all.
Okay. And in North Carolina, we've always been a disclosure state, and so it's really not a huge deal here. But it mainly what I was hearing was people were having to come in. Some builders were asking buyer agents for their buyer agency agreements and that kind of thing. But you guys, just business as usual.
It's just business as usual.
That's cool.
It's interesting. I was in one of our markets judging for the Parade of Homes, and one of the national builders had taped to the door of the model, please do not enter before you disclose if you have buyer representation or something like that. And I thought, wow, you're really pushing people away by not opening arms and having people come in and then finding out that information.
Well, and just across the real estate community in general, we are not seeing much change. And we were, we all freak out.
We did.
And so we're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But we really have not seen much of a change in anything. Right. So that's always good news.
Right.
Okay.
And again, we've never offered incentives or discounts if you come in by yourself and don't have representation.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's the price.
One of the things, really cool things that great about Mungo Homes, and I want to end with this, but I want to make sure we cover it clearly, is the Mungo Homes Foundation.
Thank you for asking that.
So I was reading up and doing some homework, like we do always before we do this, and I really thought that was very interesting, and maybe something that sets Mungo apart. I'm sure other people do lots of nice things,
they do, yes.
But I think this is a very organized and very structured program. But I want to let me read this question so I don't mess it up.
Okay.
The Mungo Foundation was established in 2021 to give back to the communities where Mungo builds. Out of that came the annual week of service. I'm not going to get into the dates. And then also a week of giving, which takes place in December. Can you tell us more about those and why that's so different?
So the Mungo Homes Foundation is something about which I'm very passionate. And giving back to the community is actually the very fabric of who we are. Our mission statement, as a matter of fact, is to serve so that others are empowered to thrive. We feel like we are all called to help each other, give somebody a hand up, somebody who's less fortunate. So Michael J. Mungo, the founder of our company, he grew up in a very poor family. He was one of 8 children, did not always have shoes to wear to school, and he promised himself that if he ever made it, he would give back to the communities. And that's exactly what he did. He did it very quietly. And when he retired in the 70s, actually as a young man, and his sons took over, he dedicated his life to philanthropy. And then when he died, his entire estate went to his own foundation. Well, Stuart Mungo and Stephen Mungo, his sons, witnessed that, and so it's also in the fabric of their being to give back to the community. So Stephen Mungo in 2021 established the Mungo Homes Foundation, and we have a board of trustees that is made up of employees, but everything that we do is employee driven. In every market where we build, all 10 markets, we have an advisory committee, and they take nominations from the local team members. Who do you want to support for week of service or week of giving? And they decide. And so the board of trustees does not decide. The market presidents don't decide.
So
Stephen
every
Mungo
local market chooses their.
They choose their own charities.
Very cool.
And so earlier this month, we had our 4th annual week of service. We had 81% of our employees participate in week of service. Now we're allotted 16 hours of paid volunteer time, which is an amazing benefit for us. And we've volunteered over 2,600 hours, that week, and we benefited more than 30 charities. And we did everything from building wheelchair ramps to going into soup kitchens. We helped veterans. We A Bed and a Book, which is one of our favorite charities here in the Triad. We worked with them to construct beds and deliver them to children who didn't have a bed to sleep in. And so we do a lot of really great things. And it is very empowering for us to see the wonderful things that we can do to give back to the communities.
Yeah. And can I say, and all of us who do this in this whole industry, selling homes is so important and our business is so important, but giving back like that is incredible. And I commend Mungo Homes for having such a program and encouraging their employees to participate. That makes it everything.
It's huge. And then in December, right before Christmas, we have the Week of Giving, and this will be our 5th annual Week of Giving. And we decide a portion of each home sold goes into the local foundation kitty. And so we decide, the local advisory committees decide who they're going to support each Christmas or each holiday season. And so we kind of run around playing Santa Claus, and we'll donate anywhere from $1,500 to a charity up to $35,000 to a charity, depending on how much money is in that local fund for that local market. But it's amazing. I mean, it's heartfelt, and we see a lot of tears during these 2 weeks of service and Week of Giving.
Well, listen, you tell that story about Mr. Mungo.
Yes.
It reminds me so much of Grover.
100%.
So I'm just sitting here as you saying that, I'm thinking, that is so Grover Shugart. And it's amazing how your companies have come together.
Exactly.
And aligned so closely based, just the foundations.
Exactly.
And what you stand for.
Exactly,
so
thank you.
That's really interesting and very cool to see. And so we're going to wrap up, but Kim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Jason, thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for hosting us here at Mungo Homes. We're in Winston-Salem at their design studio. Come check it out sometime and get out and check out some of their communities.
Thank you.
If you want to watch our podcast, go to triadnewhomesguide.com or any of your podcast platforms. All right, thank you.